What's a crakalaken, everybody? It's hotty. This is the Blue Explosion 9000 here, and man, am I excited to see that Breath of the Wild is getting a sequel. With Metroid Prime 4 over the horizon and Luigi's Mansion 3 around the corner, I'm feeling pretty hyped for the lineup of games coming to the Switch. Oh yeah, Banjo-Kazooie was added to the DLC roster, so hopefully this is a sign we're finally getting a real sequel to Banjo-Tooie someday so I can forget that abomination that was nuts and bolts, for the love of God! Anywho, as you already know from the title of this video, I want to cover some personal knowledge I have with Breath of the Wild for anyone brand new to the game or on their second or so playthrough and are somewhat interested. I won't cover every nook and cranny in this video because that will take forever and a half. However, if you like, I might do a follow-up video covering the things I couldn't fit here if you're really interested. With that all said, get out of your chamber of resurrection and into some knowledge because this is my beginner's guide to Breath of the Wild. Getting rupees in this game is a real pain in the neck. It's not going to be as easy as cutting up grass or smashing a few pots here and there and suddenly you're 20 rupees richer. But luckily there are a few methods for earning some quick bank. You can play some mini games,
Fish! Meese!
you can be a food delivery guy,
Pizza time.
or you can raid some enemy campsites in hopes of finding some spending money.
Most of the times it's just items.
But if you want the big bucks, I recommend mining lots of ores. You might start out running into a couple of rock salts and flintstones. But it won't be too long until you run into ore stones that can produce some real money makers like ambers, opals, luminous stones, topazes, rubies, sapphires, and diamonds. If you're lucky enough, at night you can sometimes spot shooting stars followed by a pillar of light that will lead you to a star fragment. They're super rare and love to land as far away from you as possible, like, "Ha ha, I'm over here! Come and get me, ashy boy!" So you'll need to be quicker than the crack of dawn before it disappears. Now there are 3 types of ore stones scattered throughout the land of Hyrule, and as valuable as they are, it would be pretty reckless to smack them around with every weapon in your inventory unless you like wasting your weapon's durability. You could also use bomb ruins to get the job done, but No! My money!
Whoa, whoa, whoa there, Mr. Mean Greens Machines. Take it easy. Yous needs to relax. I see yous having some mining issues, so Papa Pikachu's gonna fix yous right up, capiche? See, if you wanna mine ore stones properly, you need to get your hands on one of these. Drill shafts are tailor-made for breaking ore stones with ease. However, it's not a very common tool to come across and only responds in one particular location. That's not to say drill shafts are the only tools that can OHKO an ore stone. Any blunt weapon can do the job just fine, but the most common and expendable tool you want to look for is the iron sledgehammers. There's usually at least one lying around in a village somewhere, so keep note on where they are at all times and you'll be back to smacking ore stones around faster than you can say cement shoes. You's got that? Now I gotta go make like a double team and split. I'm supposed to be paying Tony the Rat-a-tat a visit so I can tuck him in with the Sharpedos if you know what I mean.
Lastly, one of the best ways to earn a lot of rupees by far in my opinion is taking down a stone talus. These massive rock golems can drop a lot of jewels and they come in 5 types. You can always tell which of the 3 you're facing by spotting the ore stones protruding out of their bodies. The other 2 types have elemental protections based on the surrounding locations with extreme temperatures. Depending on the ore stone, the position, and what equipment you happen to be carrying, taking out these giant stone goons will either be an easy cash grab or a massive slog, chipping away its health until it dies or your last weapon breaks. So make sure you have what you need and watch its movements carefully, because if you're not fully prepared, then things could turn out like this. thing to note when looking for them is that they like to disguise themselves in secluded open areas. Best example is to head northeast from the Shrine of Resurrection until you come across a big rock surrounded by a clearing of trees. So the next time you see a large suspicious looking rock in the middle of nowhere, chances are it could be a talus. Or just a stupid boulder.
That's not just a boulder, Squidward! It's the rock!
When you do eventually find one, remember to mark its location on the map so you'll know where to go before the next blood moon happens. Here's a couple of side notes. If you want to farm for just diamonds, talk to this Zoran after you defeat the Divine Beast here. He'll trade you one for 10 Luminous Stones, and if you want the best weapons for dealing with taluses, then you should get Mipha's and especially Daruk's champion weapons for dealing a ton of damage to them, or hit those hard to reach spots consistently. Also, if you break or lose them, you can easily rebuild them at the cost of a diamond and some kind of weapon from their respectable areas. But if you want to play it safe, there's a Gerudo in Goron City where you can trade 10 of whatever type of jewels she happens to want for their total price, plus a couple hundred rupees on top. It may not seem like much, but you know what they say.
We've got to have money.
Attention Hylian explorers! Are you tired, hungry, and just gotten beaten within an inch of your life? Well then, I hope you weren't expecting to find some magical heart to heal you because there aren't any in this entire game. Well, except for the occasional heart containers, but in order for you to survive whatever the wild throws at you, you must know how to chop wood. You must know how to fire. And you must become the literal Bear Grylls of Hyrule and cook any dish that will help improve your chances of surviving your adventures that would send any normal man to a one-way trip to your got-jabated sun. Where we're going, we won't need any convenient potion shops. The landscape is our supermarket and it's time to shop. So take your drying pan and turn it back into a frying pan because I'm about to drop it like it's hot. All you'll need is your mom's credit card number, the expiration date, and the 3 wacky digits on the back. Okay, alright, I'm done talking like that. Hyrule has never been this massive, and it's understandable that such a huge landscape can be pretty intimidating at first glance. Because you have to cross large open fields and climb tall, steep mountain cliffs, the stamina wheel makes its glorious return, and it can grow 3 times the sandwich. Even with 2 additional wheels of stamina, it's not going to take you a hop, skip, and a jump to get you from point A to point geometry outside of fast traveling or becoming a static blue CGI freak of nature. If you're the type to spend your goddess orbs on hearts, then
you gotta eat to keep your strength up, man.
Now this recipe is really good for filling up your first wheel of stamina completely without wasting any of your ingredients. You need to combine 2 staminella shrooms and 1 coarser bee honey to create the energizing glazing mushrooms. You can get the most out of this dish when you're on the verge of running out of stamina during a climb. Use Final Reach to get an extra boost in height, then quickly eat the energizing glazing mushroom dish to prevent yourself from falling off. But if you don't happen to have any coarser bee honey on you, you can always combine 4 stamella shrooms and create a dish with the same effect. And if you happen to catch yourself a staminoka bash, you can combine with any regular ingredient and create a dish with the same effect that way as well. Or you can wait until you eventually get to Rito Village to get the Spirit of Falco. Wait, what did you call him? Oops, sorry. I got momentarily confused and I thought he was you for a second. Oh, so just because we're both bird people, you think it's okay to mistake him for me, is that it? No, it's nothing like that. Then what is it? It's just that you both act like such cocky little feather dusters, it's easy to mix you two up. That sounded better in my head. You know, I have half a mind to kick your tail, blue boy. Half a mind, huh? That's more than I expected from a bird brain. I heard that, you punk! Oh, shit! Sorry about that. What was I talking about again? Oh, right. Food. Now, if you decide to max out your stamina, then here's an upgrade to the recipe. You need to combine 3 stamella shrooms and 2 staminoka basses to create an energy fish and mushroom skewer. Man, that's a mouthful. Speaking of fish, here's a neat trick. If you toss some food in the water, you can gather them all in one spot, then hit them with the bomb ruin. Now since there's like a Snorlax amount of different food combinations, I'm lumping the rest into 3 categories: replenishers, timers, and temporaries.
Wait, what do you mean replenisher isn't a word?
Since I already covered the replenish category when going over stamina dishes, I'll just be repeating myself talking about healing dishes, so I'm moving on to temporaries. Now all you need to know about temporary dishes is that there's only 2 main ingredients involved: Hotties and Enduras. Meals created with these ingredients will fully restore your health and stamina completely with an additional bonus to either of them. It's like going to one of the exotic inns and paying for the local special, except the effects is stronger in your meals depending on the ingredients you used. But if I happen to head over to the inn in Gerudo Village, it'd be rude of me if I didn't stop by for their spa specials.
What's going on in here?
Now if you want the best, most common hearty ingredient, then you want to go for the hearty durance, which you can find in the rainforest. Combining 5 of these in a cooking pot will create the hearty simmered fruit dish. As for the best Endura ingredients, then you should look for Endura carrots, which you can find growing around fairy fountains and on top of Satori Mountain somewhere. Cooking 5 of these will give you the Endura fried wild greens for some reason, even though carrots aren't green, but now I'm just nitpicking. Side note, if you give your horse a single Endura carrot, they'll gain 3 temporary boosts of stamina. But if you feed your horse 5 of them all at once, then you're better off tossing the other 4 off a cliff somewhere. Lastly, let's talk about timers. Before I get into it, I should briefly touch upon the importance of combining ingredients. As you already know, cooking ingredients with the same effect will have amazing results on you once eaten, but combining ingredients with different effect will cancel them out and you'll just have a healing dish, so you'll need to pay attention to which ingredients you're selecting before cooking them if you're going for a certain effect in mind. The same rule applies when making elixirs. However, making one of those is an entirely different beast altogether, so I might cover that in another video. Timer dishes have a variety of different effects, ranging from increasing your attack, defense, speed, stealth, immunity to extreme heat, sub-zero and desert temperatures, and electricity resistance. Now combining the exact same 5 ingredients is fine and all, but if you want a little more bang for your gut, then try going for a pro chef bonus. If you're creative enough with your ingredient combination, you'll sometimes get this bonus that will boost your dish's effect. In this case, however, there's a chance you'll extend the time that effect will last. There are 2 requirements. The first is to combine 1 or 3 ingredients with the same effect, plus some kind of seasoning with a side ingredient like Hylian rice. The second is to combine 5 different ingredients with the same effect. You can add up to 2 or 3 of the exact same ingredient in your dish. Anything past that, it might not work. Getting a pro chef bonus is completely random. On top of that, some dishes just can't get the bonus at all, but when you do get it, it's like...
Finally, some good food.
Side note, there are 2 ways that I know of that you can get recipes if you're not sure what to make. The first is to look for recipe pages. They're usually found in horse stables hanging on the walls, but there are other places that have them as well, so you might want to keep your eyes peeled just in case. The second is the most common, saving travelers. You'll eventually come across some travelers under attack. If you defeat an enemy near them, they'll reward you with either a dish or an elixir, and you can check out the recipe so you can use it as a blueprint for future dishes you want to try out later. If you're going for this method, you'll need to stay vigilant. Here, I'll demonstrate on what you need to do in this situation. Oh, oops. I probably should have saved her first before I started explaining, huh? There! It's like nothing ever happened. Hey you! I saw what you did down there! Ruh-roh! Gotta run! Hey, get back here, you sorry excuse for a Hylian! I'm making a citizen's arrest! Ha! You're not putting me back in the dungeon!
Is it too late to call my lawyer? There are many paths to becoming the master of the wild, and one of those paths might lead you to becoming the master of the shadows. No, I wasn't referring to that kind of shadow.
Shadow the Hedgehog.
Oh, shut up. When it comes down to the mastery of the Silent Eye, no other group knows the finer lines of the ninja better than the Sheikah clan. Even the Yiga clan wouldn't be able to perform half of their ninja arts if it wasn't for their past ties with the Sheikah. Despite their poor usage of the shadow arts nowadays, but that's to be expected from a leader that looks like a rejected spokesperson for Coca-Cola. With a Sheikah armor set, even you can feel what it's like to be a Hylian ninja. Defensive wise, this armor is a little weak, but you can run around with quiet footsteps, making it easy to stealth assassinate your enemies before they get a chance to detect your presence, so long as you stay out of their field of vision. But if you start sprinting around, jumping, or making a bunch of deliberative noises, then you'll be acting like a certain hyperactive, knuckle-headed ninja. It's also ideal for hunting wildlife if you're having a hard time. Some of them won't even notice you coming a mile away even if you get right next to them, making grabbing horses as easy as picking apples off a tree. Assuming Apples doesn't start fighting back, of course. This also means you can collect all kinds of bugs, lizards, and even fairies with very little difficulty. Again, as long as you're not making a lot of noises around them. Fish, on the other hand, will ignore you completely once you're in the water. Lastly, if you upgrade your Sheikah armor twice, you'll gain the set bonus Night Speed, increasing your movement speeds during the night. Combine this with a speed increasing meal and you'll be rolling around Hyrule at the speed of sound. Oh dear, it would seem I've made another wrong turn. Oh well, I guess I'll start asking for directions now.
Hello! Does anyone have directions to Albuquerque?
The Guardians. One of the most intimidating, destructive, and overall difficult type of enemies to deal with in the game. They're fast, relentless, and will chase you down if you give them the chance to spot you. You're considered very lucky if you're even able to escape one alive, but running into a swarm of Guardians is almost assuredly certain death. So unless you have the ancient arrows and the accuracy of a legendary Rito, you'll have no chance of surviving these encounters.
Unless you have one of these. Then they go down like...
Oh my god.
Huh. I guess they're not as tough as I thought.
Guardians are tough, sure, but once you get used to dealing with them, they feel less like a threat, more like a giant sentient piñata that goes bang bang. Don't get me wrong. Again, there's still nothing to sneeze at, especially if you're careless. So here are some ways you can handle them. Like you just saw, you can take out these Guardians Isaac Clarke style by going for the limbs. Normal weapons can do the job, but every ancient weapon will have the same effect no matter what the size, strength, or type. One touch will deal massive damage to them while you immobilize them, turning their legs into scraps of confetti. Flying Guardians, on the other hand, are a different story. You can't exactly reach them aside from using ancient arrows, but if you don't have any, then grounding them would be your best option. You'll need two specific items: bomb arrows and a bow that can shoot multiple arrows at once. The only kind of bow that can do that are Lionel bows, and before anyone jumps into the comment section to bite off my head, I'm aware that there are other types of bow in this game that fits that criteria. I'm referring to Lionel bows because they're one of the more common and easier types of bow to come across with this functionality, assuming Mufasa over here is in a sharing mood. Now, coming across one may be easy considering the first two arrows aren't really hard to find. However, getting it is easier said than done. Lionels are very shy creatures and like to be left alone most of the time. But once you two have a pleasant little chit chat,
Stupid fire-breathing furball!
give me that bow, you raging bag of fleas! Then all you'll need are bomb arrows, which can get pretty pricey. But if you manage to take out a couple of Tyluses along the way, then that shouldn't be an issue. With the lino bow and the bomb arrows, it should take about 3 or 4 direct hits before you knock out one of its propellers. Once the propellers are all gone, it will drop like a rock and you'll be free to break it however you like. Now, aside from the first iconic way to taking out these fast-acting squid machines, the second most iconic way to taking down the Guardians is of course to shield parry their lasers directly back at them. If the beam hits anywhere other than their eyes, the damage will be minimal. Getting the timing down won't be a walk in the park, so you should practice on decayed Guardians to get the feel of knocking their beams back at them before going after moving targets. Once you find the balance between a comfortable distance, your reaction, and when it's gonna fire, then you should be able to get it every other time after that until it starts to feel natural. You'll still need to be careful. If you're a second off, then you'll be roasting over an open fire. Too late and the beam will ricochet off your shield, destroying it in one shot if it's weaker than a Royal Guard shield. Too early and you'll be dining on some nice big old bowl of laser beam pumpernickel sandwiches. But if you'd rather have a much easier way, then you should get your hands on an ancient shield from Robbie's workshop. I'd say this is one of the second best shields in the game for the sole purpose of reflecting the beams back at the Guardians without the need of mastering the shield parry technique. But the Hylian shield is still better. Next, let's talk about the weapons. Elemental weapons to be exact. I'll start with electric. You can paralyze most enemies with a single strike. On top of that, you can force them to drop any weapons they happen to be carrying. You can also create a discharge wave by attacking your enemies in the rain, striking metal objects, or shooting your electric arrows at any body of water. Ice weapons are another good immobilizer. Plus, if you hit an enemy while it's frozen with another strong weapon, you'll deal even more damage to them than an ordinary strike with the same weapon. However, you'll deal out even more damage to them if you hit them with a fire weapon, because if Pokemon taught me anything, is that fire is strong against ice, and also chip away damage from setting them on fire in the process. But if you hit them with an electric weapon instead, you can stun your enemies while keeping them in an infinite switcheroo combo of ice and electric attacks while also creating discharge waves in the process. On top of that, you can one-hit kill fire-based enemies to keep battles nice and short. The same goes for ice-based enemies with fire weapons. I guess opposites don't attract in this case. Plus, it can keep you cool in the desert heat during the day on your way back to the Gerudo Inn for another relaxing spa session.
Boy, if you don't get...
Lastly, there's the fire weapons, probably the most useful kind of weapons both in and out of combat. You can set your enemies on fire to chip away at their health, and you can also set certain other weapons on fire too to increase their damage output. But the fire can also chip away at your weapon's durability in the process, so keep that in mind. You can use fire arrows to create updrafts by setting a trail of grass on fire. You can just carry a fire weapon around frigid areas to keep yourself warm. You can also double the effects of warm clothing and normal spicy dishes for traveling in sub-zero climates. You can melt ice just by standing next to them slowly. You can instantly roast fruits, vegetables, and meats perfectly in one strike for an on-the-go snackaroo. And most importantly, you can set up campfires and cooking stations without using any Flintstones. No! Shut up, Granddad! I'm done with that pun! With the power of lightning, ice, and fire weapons, you might even have the potential to becoming the next Avatar. If only there was something that can produce winds. Then the 4 elements can be complete. Hey, wait a minute! To be honest, I feel like the Korok leaf gets overshadowed when comparing it to most of the weapons in the game, which is understandable. But I think I know of a way for the Korok leaf to be one of the most useful trap tools in your inventory. I introduce to you the land cannon! Okay, let's just sit this right here and... Hold on, let me try that again. Yay! It works! It works! Uh-oh. No. Just place a bomb ruin right in front of you. Either one is fine, but I prefer the square bomb. Then get real close to it and let it rip! You can hit groups of enemies from almost every distance, and the longer you charge the Korok leaf, the further the bomb will fly, making it the perfect trap for bomb sniping. Plus, it's just fun to blow up stuff.
Now before I wrap things up, I have two last side notes to cover. The first note I want to cover I actually learned about by watching other people pull this off involving two minecarts and magnesis. Now I haven't personally figured it out myself yet, but I'm pretty sure I got the gist of it. You just need to stack the minecarts like this, then climb on top and use magnesis on the bottom cart to lift yourself in the air. Sounds simple enough. How hard can it be? Like I said, before I wrap things up, I have one last side note to cover. I thought you were going to cover two side notes. Hey, what do you think you're doing with that? I'm going to end things off with my favorite method of traveling, the stasis rocket. Yeah, I know about the bokoblin ice flying thingamajig trick, but I feel like flying with my magic rock taxi, so I'ma do it! Yeah. Here's what you'll need. A rock, obviously. A spear of some kind. Sword is also optional. Any blunt weapon. If you have only one wheel of stamina, then you'll probably need a couple of dishes to replenish it on standby. And last, pick a high place to launch from. I'm choosing the Great Plateau for this demonstration. First, get your rock as close to the edge of the cliff as possible. You can use the spear or sword to adjust the position of the rock without worrying about hitting it too hard over the edge. Next, pull out your blunt weapon and perform the heavy spin attack and hit the rock about 6 or 7 times depending on the size of the rock until you meet maximum longitude, and then cancel the heavy spin attack with the X button. Then last, you want to climb around here, not too close to where the arrow is pointing. Now this method is only for if you only have one wheel of stamina. First, go into your inventory and select the energizing glazed mushroom dish before attempting this setup. Hit the rock about 4 times, then quickly hit the pause button. After you've replenished your stamina, hold the Y button before unpausing to continue the heavy spin attack. Hit the rock about 3 more times before canceling the spin. Make sure not to climb directly in front or behind the launch arrow. If you're behind it, then the rock will fly out of Link's grip. If you're directly in front of the arrow, then I hope you had a taste for boulder a la your face with a side order of your cheeks hitting the pavement. If everything works out like it should, then you'll be blasting off like a true Team Rocket member. Let's give it a test, yes?
Nice on!
Hey look, a shiner with crazy. Well, that's gonna be it for this session of Beginner's Guide to Breath of the Wild. Man, there was a lot to cover, and there's still plenty I haven't gone over yet. But we still got about 3 more years or so before Breath of the Wild 2, so I'm not in a hurry. I know this isn't the Sonic video I promised way back in January, but I'm still working on it, rest assured. I just got a little carried away, again, as I usually tend to do with my passion projects, so I hope you can forgive me for the long wait. Plus, I've been working on a new art style, as you just saw a couple in this video. I plan on perfecting it more, so I'll be drawing with MS Paint less and less. I posted the link to my artwork on Twitter and in the description below, so feel free to check them out if you want. But anyways, thank you all for watching. This is the Blue Explosion 9000 here saying I am up, over and gone. Take care, have a good one, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye! You just need to stack the minecarts like this, then climb on top and use magnesis on the bottom cart to lift yourself in the air. Sounds simple enough. How hard can it be?
Oops! Sorry! You son of a bitch!
Oh no!
God! Sucking!
Boy, if you don't... NANI?! Oh no! Rocket!
So long, Bowser.
Use the brake!
Gotcha!
Seatbelts, everyone!
Oh no! Oh no!
Pretty f***ing hard, apparently.